Hello, welcome to On Trail. We're with Will from Cycle Life. Tell us a little bit about Cycle Life and the history of the shop.
Our owner, Ellie, started 30 years ago in Pickering at a shop called Pedal Performance. He worked there. He's worked at shops in the city. He owned Impala bicycles here in Whitby for quite a long time. Everybody in Durham region knows Ellie. We all know him. We all love him. He gives back constantly to
Oh,
the,
that's
to
awesome.
the area, and he's always willing to help out. I've never seen many shop owners who are willing to go in on a day off and fix a flat or
Oh, wow.
bring somebody to their home shop and do a quick repair just to get them on the road. We've got a lot of bike packers through the area
Mm.
because Pickering, Port Perry, Whitby, we're all in the middle of the waterfront trail. We've got Three Rocks, East Duffins, Headwaters, Durham Forest, Dagmar. So we've got thousands of cyclists every week coming through,
Wow.
and they rely on us to keep them on the trails and on the road.
Sure.
About 8 years ago, Ellie founded Cycle Life. So he actually bought the old Pedal Performance in Pickering, rebranded it as Cycle Life, and we've just kind of been running from there. Ellie wanted to expand. He and his wife, Janie, who also they co-own the business. She's from Port Perry.
Mm.
He's from Uxbridge. So they were looking at a second location, and he was talking to a property owner in Port Perry, and this guy really wanted a bike shop
Oh.
in Port. And this started just before COVID.
Mm.
This guy really, really, really wanted us to set up shop. Before Ellie had signed any paperwork or they had agreed on anything, he put the red Cycle Life sign up on the building before we'd even agreed
To open just through pure enthusiasm.
oh, pure enthusiasm. He set up the sign and Ellie kind of felt obligated. But of course, it's been a great move for us. Port Perry's a great little community. It's a hub of everything. The Port Perry store is also open Sundays through the summer,
Oh,
10 to
okay.
4. So that's really helpful because we have a lot of cyclists on weekends coming
Mm.
through. And we were also finding that because Port Perry didn't have a bike shop, that was an underserved market. There's a lot of retirees up there who love their e-bikes.
Yeah.
So they've been a hot seller up there. And there's a lot of people that ride the trails regularly that are from Port Perry and area.
Okay.
We saw a need. There was a little bit of a hole to fill there. And, we wanted to be in there before anybody else. So that was kind of what led to the decision
Okay.
and stick close to home. We
Yeah.
want to look after the people where we live. And there's a lot of pride with Cycle Life and our relationships with our customers and our neighbors because most of
Yeah.
our customers are neighbors.
Sure. Makes
We
sense.
have to look you in the eye when we
Yeah.
see you on the trail or on the
Yeah.
road. So that pride translates into our work and our sense of community.
I'm noticing your Cycle Life shirt. That's quite a selection of bike brands you've got there.
And that's just major bike brands. We've also got lots of other brands. Part of that came out of COVID.
Mm.
The demands on the cycling industry during COVID, where supply was non-existent within 6 to 9 months,
Yeah.
led us to creating new relationships with other shops and other brands
Ah.
because companies had stock, they needed to move it.
Yeah.
We had empty stock, needed stuff to move.
Yeah.
So we created those relationships
Oh,
with these bike
interesting.
companies. And of course, we love the whole Canadian concept,
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain, Norco, Kona, they
Yeah.
all have Canadian ties. So
Okay.
those were easy add-ons.
Sure.
Orbea is kind of a niche manufacturer that we brought in. They do really custom paint jobs. With anybody who's seen my bikes, at least my mountain bike, it's a custom job
Oh, it's
from
a beauty
Orbea.
for sure.
So we try and keep things local, even with our clothing brands. We've got Fox because everybody in mountain biking has to carry
Yep.
Fox. Pearl Izumi, Garneau is a big Canadian
Oh, sure.
brand, so
Yeah.
we've got a good relationship with them.
Tell us a little bit about how bike shops have grown and pivoted alongside the development of being able to buy anything you want online.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it leads into how my role started with Cycle Life. A lot of bike shops, they know bikes. You can ask them some obscure question about a Shimano component from 20 years ago. They'll know how to fix it, but the internet is a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And computer systems in general, a lot of bike shops don't understand that. My background, aside from my passion from cycling, is in IT and
Right.
computers and social media. First thing I did was take over the social media and make sure it was relevant. Because I've been in social media since the start, I know
Oh,
how to create posts that are engaging.
right.
And that's always a trick with social media that bike shops don't get. Some of them will just constantly reshare what manufacturers produce,
Lots
which
of that.
is fine because you want to get the word out there. Your suppliers appreciate that, but you also need those personalized touches. You're talking about local events that we support, whether it's road events like Port Perry Pedals or it's Durham Shredders. We do help to promote those. We also like to talk about local races.
Mm,
The Woody Race Series is one that we've supported since it started. So all of that needs to be on your social media because you need to create these connections with your local group. And that's what social media is really good for. And every once in a while, I might get on my soapbox and throw a post up there about right away on trails, stop signs, things like that.
yep,
It's not
agreed.
just about selling bikes. It's our relationships with everybody around us. Having our relationships with the community, we are resharing some stuff from the community
Sure,
and
of course.
reposting because we want to promote cycling as a lifestyle
Mhm.
choice, not just a hobby.
Yep.
If it's your hobby, we're here to support you too. We also offer discounts to club members.
Oh,
So all the local bike clubs, they have a discount code that they can use online or in store. We've also done in-store events for some of the
oh,
bike shops. So I did a bit of a roadside repair clinic for
oh,
one of the local bike clubs back in the spring. That was a lot of fun. We've also run some repair clinics, ladies only clinics, just general repair clinics. And one of my roles as an ambassador for the store is doing stuff like that on rides. So if I
ah,
see somebody stop, the first thing I do is, hey, are you okay? Do you need
oh, that's
anything?
fantastic.
I can't tell you how many flats I've repaired because
That's so nice of
people,
you.
yeah, well, I mean, it's part of giving back. Even if
Sure.
I didn't work for the shop, I would still do that.
Yeah.
I've given people tubes. I'm not charging for repairs on the roadside. Here's
Right.
your
Charge you
tube.
for your wrench time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, no. You know, flip your bike upside down. It'll
Yeah.
take me 5 minutes and
There you
it'll
go.
take you 30 now. Let's just get you
You get
back
it
on the
done.
road. Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice of you. Yeah. And it makes so much difference because then you hope when they learn to do it, they'll pass it on
Yeah.
to the next guy. How can we help grow the sport?
The one thing that I love about cycling is that anybody can do it. I'm actually teaching my youngest grandson, who's almost 5, to ride his first bike without training
Fantastic.
wheels. And
Fantastic.
that's the thing. We've got to start with our kids. And it doesn't matter if they're boys or girls, they should all be taught the same.
Yep. Yep.
I've got 6 kids, and the
Wow.
older ones I didn't teach, but the younger ones taught them how to ride, my sons, my daughters. As you
Absolutely.
know, I mean, you hit
Yeah.
those trails, you get that sense of euphoria, you get that calm as well.
Yep.
You just flowing through the trails and the whole world just disappears. All
Yeah.
your troubles are gone.
Yep.
And if we can instill that in our kids when they're young, they'll carry that on as adults. I think the other thing is to be encouraging of everybody.
Yep.
I'm in a challenge called the Great Cycle Challenge. So this is a fundraiser for Sick Kids Foundation to help raise funds for cancer research. I've been in it since the start. This is my 8th year, and I think I've raised myself somewhere around 7 or $8,000 over the 8
Fantastic.
years. As a whole, I think they've brought in 50 or 60 million. It's phenomenal how much money is
Wow.
raised. It's Canada
Yeah.
wide.
Wow.
And one of the things that I really love about this, you're not just riding to raise money, but there's a whole community of riders. And there's a lot of people new to cycling. There's a lot of people who get intimidated very
Yep.
easily.
Yep.
So I don't know about you, but for me, a ride has to be at least 30K on the trails, or I don't even want to bother gearing up
Sure.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Road rides 80, 100 is a warm up ride. And this is something we need to be cognizant of in shops is we're all riders. We do big distances, we hammer, we talk Strava, we're talking
Yeah.
KOMs and PRs. The average cyclist doesn't understand,
Yeah.
doesn't care, and they get intimidated.
Sure.
And I think that's a real issue with a lot of shops that we have to address so that we keep things friendly. When we do group rides, we're talking about having different groups. We've got our hammer group, we've got our relaxed no drop group. And that's the key thing with our rides. Nobody gets left behind.
Fantastic.
Go through the trail at your pace. We're all going to meet up at the end. If you don't want to stay with the group, if you're a serious rider, go ahead. If you're somebody less experienced, we're going to make sure you get back to the
Yeah.
parking lot. And that's what we need to do. And it doesn't matter, male, female, non-binary, whatever.
Mhm.
Cycling's all inclusive, and we need to, as shops and as clubs and as ambassadors, make sure that everybody feels welcome.
What I started to realize more and more is that it's not about necessarily accomplishing anything. And
Right.
so when I invite new riders to come ride with me, it's like we're not here to do anything but be outside and ride bikes.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's just ride bikes.
exactly. That's
You know what I
really,
mean?
that's it.
Yeah,
Nutshell right
yeah,
there.
right there,
Yeah.
right?
Ride bikes, have fun, and that's it.
It's interesting that you have a background in photography because photography is always the comparison that I use for the bike industry. You can get the department store version of a disposable camera, or you can get the highest end. So it really depends on what you want to do. Does that
Yeah.
sound like an apt analogy to you?
Oh, it's an excellent analogy, and it's one I use a lot in my photography talks as
Mhm.
well. Because as you mentioned, cell phones, they're handy. I use mine at every ride. My Strava and my Instagram is
Right.
filled with ride photos because it's handy, it's light, and it does the job. And as you said, with bikes, it's the same thing. Not everybody needs that $25,000 road bike.
Yeah.
You don't even need a $5,000 mountain bike
Right.
necessarily. It all
Yeah.
depends on your abilities and your needs. And again, whether you're having fun. I've taken people out on the trails on $200 department store bikes.
Yeah.
They had the time of their life,
Absolutely.
and that's all that mattered. Now, if they wanted to join some of the longer rides, that bike's not the right tool.
No.
You can force it, but you've got to make sure that the tool matches. There is a time to upgrade, but not
Yeah.
everybody needs to go from here to here.
No.
That's the quality of bike at this level is
Oh,
phenomenal.
oh,
now.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's one thing about bikes, the technology just trickles down.
Yep.
Eventually you get to the point where a lower end bike turns out to be a pretty good hardtail,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, the new Shimano Q's drivetrain stuff
Oh.
is a nice step up from what they used to offer. And they've also designed it so that it's more interchangeable.
Ah.
Uh, so that's going to really change the entry level market as well.
Mm.
And it's going to bring it up without driving prices. Because the one thing that we have seen is 10 years ago, an XTR race bike was 6, 7,000.
Right.
That same bike now is 14. Part of that's COVID pricing, because components have gotten more expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the pricing in the industry has just gone nuts. And that is making those entry level bikes a little more appealing because you're getting a
Sure.
much better quality
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
They are cheaping out on some things. So you've got to look at, drivetrain's going to be fine, but, forks can be questionable. Very rarely would I recommend a full suspension department store bike because really you're going to hate it. They're
Yeah.
extremely heavy.
Yeah.
And they cheap out on everything to make them at that
Everything.
price point.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're not safe. I've got to be really blunt on that because I've
Yeah.
ridden a couple. You squeeze a brake lever and it just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, hardtail entry level bikes, a lot of them bang for the buck. You can't beat them.
Absolutely support your local bike shop. If you can't afford to buy the bike from the bike shop, get it from the department store and then immediately take it to the bike shop
Oh
and
yes.
get them to fix everything that is wrong with the department store bike that you bought.
I think the biggest thing that we find with department store bikes is assembly. Forks installed backwards,
Oh, yeah.
handlebars backwards, seat post backwards, brakes not installed, shifting not done. So bring it into us. Let us go over it and make sure that all those tweaks are made so the bike's safe and it's going to work.
Yep.
Because when you hit the brakes or you hit the shifter, it's got to react.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a problem. As you said, there's nothing wrong with starting with a department store bike.
Sure.
I know a lot of kids, they're going to ride it to school, ride it home. If your child decides that they want to ride with you and they want to do a 10 or a 12 or longer ride,
Mhm.
department store bikes going to be a little too much for them in
Yeah.
the long run. That's
Yeah.
when you can look at investing in a better quality,
Absolutely.
much lighter bike.
Well, the rains look like they're about to come. We better wrap it up there, but where can people find out more?
You can find us at cyclelife.bike. That's our website and all social media, Instagram. And you can find me at Will Rides Bikes.
Thanks very much for joining
my
us today. I
pleasure,
really
Jim.
appreciate it. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out ontrail.ca to help spread
Follow
the
him.
stoke. I'm going to have to edit this out. I forget where it's
Well,
going.
that's the thing. We've got the outtake.
Yeah, yeah.